We had such a good conversation last time. I'm so grateful to be back on this platform to connect with this audience. It's such a pleasure and gift. Thank you.
Yes, enjoy the talk. Hi, Meg. Good to see
Hi,
you.
Good to see you again too, Hunter. Thank you for that introduction. Keshawn,
Yes.
it is lovely to see you on our stage again. I am so
Thank
excited that
you.
I get to interview you this time.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to dive in. But before we do, I just want to highlight some stuff about your background in case people maybe aren't familiar. So Keshawn is an intuitive keynote speaker, International Coaching Federation certified neuro coach, as well as a leadership consultant and the founder of Neuro Savvy Leadership. Now, she serves in the top 1% of coaches with neuroscience expertise and also holds a bachelor's in business admin and marketing, a master's in strategic communication, and neuroscience specializations in education, entrepreneurship, health, spirituality, and relationships. Now, Keshawn, you have 20 years of experience
Yes.
across a lot of like really amazing things.
Thank you.
What is something that you think our audience should know about your background that they might not know just from signing up for today's chat?
Thank you so much. Every time I hear that, I feel joy because I, have snapshots of moments throughout my career, both good and bad, but mostly good things that I've done well, that I'm proud of. I want people to know I'm human and I'm still learning. Okay, so when I come to these stages, when I'm on these platforms, having these opportunities, I'm here to learn as much as I am to share. So I am not a know-it-all. I used to think I was, right? When I was in my perfectionistic stage, which burned me out. And so I put her down. Sometimes she still rises up and she's allowed to watch, but not lead. And so I want people to know I'm human. I'm here to learn. I'm a lifelong learner, and I love conversations like this. I'm a communicator. And so I'm on this journey with you. Let's do this together. Let's learn and share and grow.
Heck yes. Oof. Yeah. All right. Super excited.
Thank you.
And don't forget, y'all, if you've got questions, if you want us to dive in deeper on something we're talking about, let us know. Send in any questions or comments you might have in the group chat. It's on the right-hand side of your screen. And I will hopefully get a chance to ask Keshawn them before we run out of time. So please feel free to send those questions in, y'all. All right. So obviously today's chat is about leadership. Let's talk about some of the characteristics that you see very commonly exhibited within leaders. I think like if everybody sort of pictures maybe the leader that they work under now,
yes.
it might be kind of a monolithic sort of thing. But so what do you see as characteristics that leaders commonly exhibit?
Yes, I think leaders across the board are impactful and influential, whether we like their style or not. They have an influence on us, on how we feel, on ways we respond, on our behaviors, on our results. And so those are two common characteristics. My definition for leadership is people who generate influence and create impact. And so, and that's everybody, right? We all have the potential for leadership. I feel like the question comes up, are leaders born? Yes. Are they nurtured? Yes. So there's that nature and nurture. There are times in my life where I'm happy to follow and others where I'm primed to lead. And I think as a human, we all have that capacity within us.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to phrase that. Are there any qualities, especially since you have a decades-long career, are there any qualities that you have seen become more seen within leadership over the years?
Yes, that's such a good question. And I think it has a lot to do with culture. And so the lens that I look at leadership through and what I've experienced leadership from are traditional leadership styles, and then there are more modern leadership styles. And they all exist because there are people who are in the world who are traditional and traditionalists, and then those who have a more modern creative approach. And so I've experienced it all. And I feel like there are pros and cons, there are benefits to each. And I think the important thing to remember as leaders is to be flexible and adaptable and willing to learn and grow. I think that helps us to apply whatever skills, whatever feelings and experiences we have in the right moments. And so some qualities of more traditional leadership are structure, maybe really prizing bureaucracy and hierarchy. And so those are some of they can be positive benefits to having structure. People want that, particularly at work. They don't always want.
certain industries just that's how they work. That's how this is set
Exactly.
up, and it's
Yeah,
how it functions. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. I came from a household. My dad was in the army. He was, and so our home structure did tend to be more bureaucratic, more hierarchical. Still, even in my dynamic in my relationship with my dad, there is that quality and nature to it. And so that's when I think of traditional, I think about generations, but then also, like I said, it can span across age ranges, identities, what we tend to lean towards and want to have exhibited for us and what we want to then express as leaders. But then my experience for most of my career, I've worked for tech companies, and then now I'm coaching with a lot of leaders in tech companies. And so startup culture tends to be more growth oriented, more creative, more flexible. And so I'm finding that people in the workplace do want that style of leadership. They want charismatic leaders. They want people who are motivating, inspirational, people that they can feel good about following. They have the characteristics of empathy. They're emotionally intelligent. And so they have more of that, I would say, adaptability when it comes to being able to meet you where you are, they want to hear what you have to say. There's two-way dialogue, there's engagement, there's feedback loops. And so what I find is that in modern workplaces, in a lot of the workplaces that I now coach in and ones that I worked within before I stopped working full time, that's what I desired for myself. And that's what I saw people that were my colleagues that worked with me. We wanted that style of leadership too.
I love that. That's a really important thing, right? I mean, I feel
Yes.
like there's people that you work under and you're like, oh gosh, that person was a great leader. And then there's other people you work for and you realize that what you're learning is how you don't want to be a leader or how you don't want to lead.
Bingo.
Um, yeah, I think that's an excellent way to think about it, because you're right. There are these, there's tons of different styles. Just
Yeah.
because something doesn't really jive with you, or it doesn't mean that there's not a different way to do it.
That's right.
So I think that's a really good call out there.
Mhm.
Um, okay, let's talk about how leaders can become aware of their own leadership style. Do you think this is something that is able to be done with self-reflection? Do you think it is solely something, something that's you need outside input? How do you suggest people approach this if they don't know what leadership style they have?
What a great question. I think and I feel the best leaders are self-aware leaders. And research shows us that companies that are filled with self-aware people make more money, they're more productive, and they're happier places to work. So having self-awareness, I believe there are two, according to, I think her name is Tara Brach. She's someone who's done a
I
lot.
love Tara Brach.
Yes, who's done a lot of research on self-awareness, and it's both internal and external. And so it's important for us to have our own internal sense of who we are. And I'm raising my hand. There was a time when I did not have a good internal sense of who I am as a leader. I had a perception of myself. It was very mindset oriented. I feel like I was disconnected from the eyebrows down. It's like, it was very thought based, very mindset oriented, like, what am I thinking as opposed to how am I feeling? And so really being able to connect the two now, being body oriented, being connected to my body, having body awareness, what feelings are coming up in me, what temperature am I feeling as I'm in a room having a conversation? Am I heating up? Okay, that's something that can help me be more self-aware and respond appropriately. And then the other side of self-awareness is external awareness. And we get that through hearing back from others. There are so many great tools for that. One that I use a lot is 360 assessments, where as a leader, I can send out a request to people who are my colleagues, who report to me and who I report to provide feedback about me and my work style. And through that, I discover a lot. I can discover what I'm great at or perceived as great at, some of my strengths, my hidden opportunities, places where I need to grow, where I would be more effective if I was able to improve upon certain areas that are challenge areas for me. So those are really great to have, and just two-way dialogue, feedback conversations where I feel like I'm in a trusting environment, I'm in a safe container, as some people say these days, where I can express myself freely, and those who are expressing themselves towards me we can feel safe and comfortable to do so. So self-aware leaders are great leaders, are the best leaders, I think, and having both internal and external perspectives is the way to become more self-aware of that if you're thinking you're having challenges with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mary actually just typed in the chat here. Mary says, I just started researching the type of leader I am. It's been great learning about my strengths and what I need to work on. I think, I really like what you had said about that body awareness.
Yes.
Because so for me, long story, but I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 33.
Oh, thank you.
And that led to a huge shift in my life and, therapy and all that stuff, which caused me to have this greater self-awareness.
Yes.
And it really was bonkers once I started realizing that times that I was feeling overwhelmed were not for the reasons that I thought. And
Yes.
so what I had been doing to try and manage my emotions or react appropriately and all that kind of stuff wasn't going to work because I wasn't starting from a level base there. So I think it's really important to highlight here that knowing what you need to work on is a gift. If people are telling you and sharing with you things that they think you need to work on, obviously take it with a grain of salt, but people don't tell people that something's wrong if they don't think anything's going to be done about it. People that are trying to get you to improve or see growth in you, people don't just do that, right? They're not just like, hey, I want to see this. They'll give you that opportunity. That's important there.
That is so thankful for sharing. That was very vulnerable. And I think so helpful to hear about how you came to your own self-awareness. It was something about you that registered true. I'm sure.
Well, I related to what you're talking about with feeling your body temperature or seeing what are the situations in which I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm 36. It took me this long to realize I don't like grocery shopping because it's too loud. So if I put in headphones, I'm fine. How many nights did I grocery shop at 3 a.m. because that was when it was quiet? Seriously.
Yes.
Yes, y'all, ask them how how they feel about your leadership style. Are there certain people that you recommend asking? Should it be 3 from column A, 1 from column B, and 2 from the menu on the back or something?
I think the quality that I would say that should undergird anyone you ask is someone you trust, someone who's competent, but then also has the level of emotional intelligence and maturity where you feel like you can receive what it is that they're sharing with you. I think we can hear, there's so many different people that have inputs that can share input about who we are and what they think about us. But I think you have to just trust them so that they're believable. So, for your example or anyone's example, receiving a diagnosis, I'm the type of person who needs a second opinion, a third possibly, because that's where my trust barrier is. And so that helps me, right? And so if that's what you need to do to have those kinds of conversations where you can receive information from someone, just allow it to be built upon the foundation of trust. And so from there, I found, for me, I like to hire professionals. So that's where the competency comes in, right? So people who have studied it, who have experience in it. When I began my deep dive into personal development and my own self-awareness journey, I hired a therapist. And that was where I first started working with someone who I feel like I just had a great trusting relationship with. And then from there, I hired coaches, depending on what season I was in, what types of information I wanted to gather about myself and what topics I was focusing on, whether it was career, I hired a career coach. Life, I hired a life coach. So I went to those types of professionals to get information. And then my best friends, my husband, my best friends, 2 of them, we've had a running video chat for over 3 years now. And I've learned so much about myself through listening to them, their reflections of me. We have that safe container. We share every aspect of our lives with each other. And so that's been essential in my growth as well. So those are some categories. That's where I've been and what I would point to.
I like that. It very much reminds me of, we've had a couple of different guests that talk about building your own personal board of directors.
Yes.
Yeah. And that sounds exactly like
that's what I have. Yes, that language is so good. And it just gave me a quick visual of oh, okay, I can do this too. I don't have to be some big corporation. I'm corporation me. I'm Keshawn Inc. Okay. So it's who's going to be my personal board of advisors that I'm looking to get that feedback about myself to continually improve and grow in a way that feels growth is uncomfortable, but to make it more comfortable is with people who I know, I call loving critics, who can offer critiques, but I know that there's love there and there is that trust there.
Yeah, I think that's very important, right? Is to have that trust.
Yes.
All right. So as you've experienced, multiple leadership styles over the years, which leadership styles do you feel to be most effective?
Ones that include opportunities for feedback. So leadership styles that, okay, I'll say this. The most effective leaders that I see now in the workplace have the ability to regulate their emotions, where emotional regulation is something that they're aware of and they understand how to do, and when to lead in a way that helps others to have some emotional regulation. And then also leaders who are emotionally intelligent, because we have so many different competent leaders in the workplace who have the knowledge, who have the experience, who know about a subject matter and could run circles around anyone in any room when it comes to getting results, when it comes to driving results and knowing how to get there. But how do you feel as you're listening to them, as you're engaging with them? How do others feel about you? That is so important. That is so important. There's a Maya Angelou quote that I love Dr. Maya Angelou. And she's someone that I've looked to. She had a quote that said, people will forget what you said, what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And as a very feeling oriented person, as someone who is can be emotionally sensitive, that's important to me. Anyone who I'm leading and anyone who's leading me, I think if they have those characteristics, they're able to regulate their own emotions when they are recognizing when they're becoming overwhelmed and stressed, and have tools in place to manage that before they then engage with others. And then those who can help people do the same thing. I think it's so essential and important.
Okay. What do you think is a hallmark of leadership styles that are not successful? Other than feedback, is there anything else that comes to mind? Like, that doesn't sound great.
That's such a good question. A hallmark of leadership that is not effective. I think fear-based leadership. I think that people who lead where they are potentially autocratic, where their communication style is one directional and it's just top down. It still ties in feedback, but there is no opportunity for people who are receiving the messages, receiving the directives to respond. Now, in crises situations, we need someone who is one directional, who has a mission, who has tactics and can share those. And we can trust that person that if we do these things, we'll get out of crises as soon as possible. So there are situations in which that is extremely important. But if that is just your style, 365, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, that can become wearing and exhausting. And because we're bidirectional, we're in relationship with each other. Leadership is about relationships. So if I don't really feel like I'm in relationship with my leader, that can leave a gap. It can leave a void that then grows more and more over time. And so I think that fear-based leadership, where people are afraid to respond, even if they were given the opportunity to respond, do they respond honestly and transparently? Or do they tell you what they think you should hear to keep you happy, possibly because you don't regulate your emotions well, possibly because you are punitive, possibly because you lead with fear. So
I've worked a place like this before. Like every other day, somebody would make mention of basically the emperor's new clothes kind of situation.
Yes.
We all knew stuff was messed up, but like, you don't feel safe to say that.
Yes. That's exactly it. Those, I would say that's a toxic style of leadership. It's one that creates, when we talk about retention now and people wanting to stay at your organization, very rarely do they have great retention rates, because after a while, people are going to recognize, hopefully, as they grow in their own self-awareness, hey, this isn't the only place where I can work, and I want to be able to work in a place where I do. Safety is like basic. Where I feel safe to show up to work. I feel respected. And I feel like I'm a part of a whole and not just being run by someone who is domineering in that way and unable or unwilling to see me as a fully realized person who is a contributor to this organization's success and not just someone who is a
Planting
puppet
a seed.
or a
Yeah.
robot, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so we've talked about some, kind of some different leadership styles.
Mhm.
And our next question is going to dive into this a little bit more, but I want to know from you, if we're talking about leaders being flexible and needing to kind of pivot and certain things might work in certain situations, are
Yes.
we should be, let's see, in what environment do you think certain leadership styles should be applied? Like, do you
Mm.
think that there are certain ones that are better suited for, for certain situations than others?
Mhm. That's such a great question. I think there are some dynamics that should be considered. Who are you leading? Always center your audience, right? So if you're leading a team of professionals that is
I
highly
like that.
skilled, highly experienced, they are extremely autonomous, there's a certain way that you should approach leading that team or those individuals compared to someone who is fresh, who is new, who is green, who is there to learn. So how much you're going to be engaging with those individuals, the types of questions you'll ask, types of requests you'll have, the types of output and the work that those people will do, they'll have different work products. And so being able to adapt to that, to read that, to set your expectation levels in ways that are realistic and helpful, I think are important qualities to keep in mind.
Yeah, of course. Now, it's just a question as I'm sitting listening to you talk.
Yeah.
So if we're trying to foster that idea of, using the leadership style that is appropriate at the time, is
Mm.
this is there a chance that the people you're leading find this confusing because your leadership style might not be consistent?
Oh,
Or is
that's
that not a concern because reasons?
such a good question. Consistency builds trust. And so we would want our leadership to be perceived as consistent because trust, once again, undergirds people feeling safe, safe to just be themselves, safe to communicate transparently.
Let their
And
guard
so,
down?
yes, be human, make
Yeah.
mistakes because that's something that's a part of our human experience. We're going to fail. We're going to approach things and not get the results that we desire. And so it's so important. Consistency does build that trust. But along with consistency is communication. So are you as a leader communicating? I like to say, particularly if consistency is a challenge for you, early and often.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Before things become a problem, were you already laying the groundwork, having conversations, asking questions, identifying things to make statements about that can be approached on a consistent basis, checking in. So having regular check-ins with people and then just often. So making it scheduled, I would say creating that sense of certainty for people that you're leading does wondrous things for our brain. It creates that sense of safety. There are 5 different characteristics that are essential to social engagement. According to neuroscience, it's called the SCARF model, SCARF. So status is one thing that our brains respond to. Certainty is another one, along with autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. And so as a leader, if you're able to speak to those things consistently, if you're able to engage people in a way or perceive and then speak upon things, even without engagement, just using your own emotional intelligence, your own experience, you typically will have a more responsive, happier, healthier, engaged workforce and team that you're leading to have better results.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So we touched on this idea of, ways that leaders can think in terms of letting neuroscience help them.
Yeah.
What are some ways that you think leaders can embrace this for positive change in the workplace?
Mm. Be growth mindset oriented. There's also some neurological or neuroscience-based theories related to having a more fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. So a growth mindset is one that is continually learning. It is one that is adaptable, that is willing to practice perspective taking, to take in more inputs in order to make decisions that are in alignment with the goals, versus having a more fixed mindset where you are feeling confident about your perspective or the perspective that you've had for however long, and you're not willing to consider other perspectives. You want to just stay within that realm that you worked in for whatever reason. There are lots of different reasons. Typically, the underlying reason is fear. You're afraid, or it stresses you out to do anything outside of what you know. And so I would say that in order to have positive changes within the workforce, there has to be that growth orientation that's present, or at least the willingness to try and to have support along the way. Another, I would say, factor that's important is moving beyond an individualized way of being, thinking, speaking, moving in your career and in your life. It can be cultural, tied to culture, where particularly in Western culture, we are rewarded for doing things on our own with no help at all, and doing things, pulling ourselves by our own bootstraps. We have different sayings that are related to that.
Yeah.
Neuroscience shows us that we need each other. We're collective, we're tribal, even in the best sense of the word. And we need others we need community. We need others that, and I always say, hopefully that you trust to help you make change, to help you move in the direction that you want to go, to help you meet your goals. So I think those things are important as well.
Very cool. All right, we only have 3 minutes left. So if y'all have questions,
that passed by fast. Please.
I know, right? It always goes way faster than you thought. Mary is actually crushing it in the chat here. Mary says, if you don't trust yourself, then even if others trust you, you can't be trusted because you're not consistent. Consistency is that secret sauce. It greases the wheels of processes and makes you trustable and reliable.
Love that.
I think Mary's got a really good point. Like Keshawn, you said, even if you are changing up your leadership style to suit the situation, your values and your like sense of leadership doesn't really change, right? One of the things we talked about, during November, the summit month was about veterans. And so we had a chat that was leading from authority and leading without authority. And so it was really, really interesting to hear like kind of some of the ways in which, in the military, which is, like you said, incredibly hierarchical, there are plenty of ways to lead, even from a place without authority or without, power. That's really, really good. In the last 2 minutes, if people only remember one thing from today's chat, what do you want it to be?
Oh, that's so good. If you only want to remember one thing from today's chat, what would it be? I think just coming back to self-awareness. Once again, I'll say it again, self-aware leaders are the best leaders. I think so many people are walking around the workplace with no self-awareness. And so it causes so much undue stress, pressure, and mess ups where sometimes we can't find our way back from in the way that we would want. They're not in alignment with what we want for our teams and our organizations and ourselves even. And so just being willing to take that dive into learning more about yourself, leading in a way where you're willing to take other perspectives to build your self-awareness, you're willing to take in those external inputs to build your self-awareness. It will serve you and the people that deal with you and work with you so much better than if you don't do it.
Yeah, I love this. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
This has been great.
I've had a wonderful time this morning. Is there anything else you want to share with people? How can they connect with you, support you, see what you got going on?
Thank you. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. It's my favorite platform. You can find information about me at Be Neuro Savvy. So that's also on Instagram and LinkedIn. So if you just type in Be Neuro Savvy, like hashtag Be Neuro Savvy, my profile should come up, and I'd love to engage with you. I talk about neuroscience as often as possible with whoever will let me. So please just reach out to me in that way and let's stay connected.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope that we get to chat again soon. This has been really, really great.
Wonderful. Bye.
Bye.